You are standing in a perfectly climate-controlled, brightly lit room smelling of rubber and sanitized sweat. You grip a knurled steel bar. You pull it against gravity. You lower it. You repeat this artificial labor until your muscle fibers physically tear. You wipe your brow, drink a chemically engineered protein fluid, and drive home in a temperature-controlled metal box. You pay a substantial monthly fee for this exact privilege. Why? Because if you stop doing this, your body will slowly and methodically dismantle itself. We are the most biochemically informed humans to ever exist. We track macronutrients down to the exact gram. We measure our resting heart rates with lasers strapped to our wrists. We consume synthetic supplements designed in multi-million-dollar laboratories. Yet, objectively speaking, we are the weakest, sickest, most biologically fragile iteration of our species to ever walk the earth. Imagine pulling an ancient human from 50,000 years ago into our modern world. If you tried to explain the concept of a workout to them, they would process it as complete psychological insanity, expending massive amounts of precious caloric energy for absolutely no functional return, running for 3 miles on a rubber belt just to end up exactly where you started, lifting heavy objects that do not actually need to be moved. To an ancient hunter-gatherer, this is not health, this is a suicide mission. For the vast majority of human existence, voluntary exercise was an evolutionary paradox. Wasting energy meant starvation. Yet, without a single gym membership, without a single repetition of structured resistance training, these ancient humans possessed a physical baseline that would make a modern Olympic decathlete look fragile. They were violently fast. Their endurance was borderline supernatural. They were hypermuscular, highly adapted apex predators. The modern fitness industry tells you that you must go to the gym to build your strength. They sell you the idea that humans are naturally weak, and that muscle is something you must artificially construct, but they are hiding a deeply uncomfortable truth. You do not need to build your physical potential. You are actively suppressing it. Look closely at the fossil record. When evolutionary anthropologists cross-section the bones of early foragers, they find something deeply disturbing. When a modern professional tennis player spends a decade serving a ball, they develop a heavily reinforced, hyperdense bone structure in their dominant arm. The bone biologically remodels itself, becoming up to 20% thicker to handle the extreme kinetic stress. It is the biological equivalent of wrapping a skeleton in industrial steel rebar. When researchers analyze ancient human skeletons, they see that exact same hyperdense remodeling, but they do not just see it in one arm. They see it everywhere. In their femurs, in their tibias, in their thoracic vertebrae, their entire skeletal structure was reinforced, like armor. If an average early human shook hands with a modern office worker, their baseline grip strength would feel like a mechanical vice. They were functionally bulletproof, and they achieved this without ever trying. But how did they fuel this immense physical engine? The assumption has always been that ancient humans must have possessed a supernatural metabolism, burning through calories like a biological blast furnace just to survive the harsh Pleistocene environment. To prove this, researchers traveled to northern Tanzania to study the Hadza tribe. They are one of the last remaining true hunter-gatherer societies on Earth. Their lifestyle has remained virtually unchanged for 10,000 years. The women spend hours digging for tubers in hard, unforgiving dirt. The men walk upwards of 10 miles a day tracking game. Evolutionary biologist Herman Poncer hooked the Hadza up to modern metabolic tracking equipment. He expected to record off-the-charts energy expenditure. He expected to find the metabolic secret of ancient human fitness. The data that came back permanently fractured modern biological science. The Hadza do not burn more calories than a sedentary office worker in Chicago. They burn the exact same amount. How is that physically possible? It comes down to a hidden mechanism known as the constrained energy model. The human body operates on a strict, non-negotiable biological budget. You have a set number of calories you will burn every single day, regardless of what you do. When you sit motionless in a chair for 10 hours, your body does not stop burning energy. It just reallocates that energy toward dark, invisible processes. It funds runaway baseline inflammation. It overactivates your sympathetic nervous system. It ramps up your stress hormones. Your body spends your daily biological budget on internal decay. The Hadza are not shredded because their metabolisms are faster. They simply spend their energy budget on physical movement rather than inflammatory disease. Our ancestors did not have the luxury of resting enough to rot. Movement was not a choice. It was a mandatory biological tax required to see tomorrow. But then we did something catastrophic. We became brilliant. We figured out how to hack the survival equation. We invented agriculture, domesticating crops, so we no longer had to chase our calories across hostile environments. We outsourced our brutal physical labor to beasts of burden, then to steam engines, then to combustion motors, and finally, to microchips and algorithms. We successfully eliminated the friction of existence. We solved the problem of survival so flawlessly that we engineered a completely new existential threat: comfort. Harvard evolutionary biologist Daniel Lieberman categorizes this exact phenomenon. He calls them mismatch diseases. These are conditions that exist entirely because our ancient biology is violently incompatible with our modern environment: type 2 diabetes, osteoporosis, autoimmune disorders, severe metabolic syndrome. We are taught to treat these as inevitable symptoms of aging or the result of genetic bad luck. They are neither. They are the physical manifestations of a trapped animal. Think about what happens to an apex predator in captivity. When a tiger is locked inside a concrete zoo enclosure, it does not peacefully relax. It paces the fence line endlessly. It develops neurotic, repetitive behaviors. Its muscle mass deteriorates. Its immune system compromise. The animal slowly loses its mind. Now, look at your own life. Look at the modern world. You are living inside a human zoo. You wake up in a climate-controlled box. You sit in a padded seat inside a rolling metal box to travel to another padded chair. You stare at a flat screen of artificial light for 8 hours, only to return to your padded box. You have methodically engineered physical resistance out of your daily existence, and your biology is in a state of absolute panic. Your DNA was forged in the fires of extreme scarcity. It inherently expects a struggle. It anticipates that you will need to sprint away from a predator, carry a heavy load across uneven terrain, or endure a brutal, prolonged famine. When that physical struggle never arrives, your body interprets the lack of movement not as safety, but as a crisis. Your nervous system assumes that if you are not moving, you must be catastrophically injured or starving. So it initiates dark survival protocols. It aggressively stores every excess calorie as visceral fat, preparing for a famine that will never come. To your DNA, a heavy, dense skeleton is a massive caloric liability. If you are not using your bones to hunt or carry, your body dissolves the calcium out of them to conserve energy. It turns your immune system against your own joints in a state of chronic, misdirected alarm. The chair you sit in is not a harmless piece of furniture, it is a modern predator, and it is quietly consuming you from the inside out. This changes exactly what the fitness industry actually is. Exercise is not a path to self-improvement. It is a desperate medical intervention. It is a prescribed dose of synthetic struggle. We are intentionally dosing ourselves with physical trauma just to trick our Paleolithic DNA into keeping us alive for another day. Walk into a commercial gym and look at the machines. Truly look at them. They are a museum of lost human movements. The lat pull-down machine is a sterile, mechanical ghost of pulling your body weight up a tree branch to escape danger. The treadmill is a simulated hunt on an endless, lifeless rubber savanna. The leg press is the phantom memory of pushing heavy rocks and timber to build a shelter. We pay monthly fees to pick up geometrically perfect iron plates because we no longer have to carry our children, our water, or our dead across unforgiving terrain. We have isolated the raw, brutal mechanics of survival, sterilized them under fluorescent lights, and packaged them into 45-minute blocks of scheduled suffering. We schedule 45 minutes of simulated survival into a 16-hour day of complete physical paralysis. We are desperately trying to buy back the exact physical resistance our ancestors fought for millennia to escape. There is a profound, quiet tragedy in this realization. Your body is a masterpiece of evolutionary engineering. It is the result of millions of years of ruthless natural selection. Every muscle fiber, every tendon, every microscopic bone cell is an inheritance from people who survived ice ages, apex predators, and planetary catastrophes. You are walking around inside the biological equivalent of a military-grade survival suit, a machine designed to endure the end of the world, but you only use it to walk from the couch to the refrigerator. The heavy, dull fatigue you feel at the end of a long day of doing nothing is not the fatigue of overexertion. It is the exhaustion of stagnation. It is the psychological weight of a high-performance engine slowly rusting from the inside out. Your genetics are waiting in the dark. They are waiting for a signal. A reason to build, a reason to fortify, a reason to activate the dormant strength that has kept your bloodline alive since the dawn of time. We did not evolve to exercise. We evolved to overcome a world that actively wanted us dead, and now, the only thing quietly killing us is that the world finally stopped trying